It's the first Sunday in May, and your Chiefs have been out on the field. They're going to be out on the field. Is it June? Did I say May? See, that's June. How it goes. So welcome back, folks. It goes fast from draft to training camp. It's quick. Yeah. We're going to guide you through it. And today is the day that we start to take a look. I'm Ryan Tracy. This is Dan Harms. Thanks for being with us on a Sunday evening that I've been gathering my excitement all weekend. I've been out at the lake. I'll try to show you guys something from the lake here in a little bit. But just before we started to get ready, we got some news. We're going to talk ball tonight. We're going to answer a few of your questions. I want to talk about the guys that they're leaning on and what this offseason has rolled into and who we have to concentrate on. But a bit of sad news just came out a few minutes ago. Miss Norma Hunt, the patriarch of this family, has passed, and the team just announced it less than 30 minutes ago. And I think we should take a second here to recognize what a path this was for her life, and the fact that she still had an echo, not just from Lamar's experience in building this team, building this franchise, and what Clark's done since he took over. She's had her hand in it the entire time. I think they referred to her as the mother of this organization. That certainly makes sense. I don't know that there's not much else you can say other than she's been here a long time. I don't know the circumstances. I don't know if the team will announce that or what, but very sad day to see Miss Hunt depart. I don't even know where to begin. Let's just be happy. She went out with a bang, with a nice Super Bowl run for the last few years. So I hope that is enough to carry through. Man, it's just I had not planned to discuss that kind of thing tonight. So where does that leave you, Dan? What does this do to the team?
You know, it's never easy. I guarantee you she's been in Clark's ear forever. You know, it's his mom. Obviously, she understood things about the organization, the direction that they wanted to take this team in, from Lamar's vision all the way down. Obviously, I think Clark has a good understanding of things that she wants, that she wanted. So I would imagine that things continue in the same way that they have been. But it's not something you ever really expect, you know, things that you feel, especially for someone who is a pioneer in her own right, with everything that she's done in her life as, you know, just as a woman. It's not easy to build upon those things. And obviously just the discrepancies between being able to be an owner and have as much influence on a team as she did. I think that needs to be recognized as well in a time, especially when women haven't been able to do a whole lot at the top of anything. And she was one of the pioneers in that regard, in my opinion. So it's a tough day for everybody. Obviously, prayers go out to the family, and I hope they are okay. I hope she, you know, went peacefully. That's the best thing we can hope for, and I would imagine so, considering, you know, we just kind of found out about this. But, you know, somber notes to a time right now in the middle of the off season that hopefully, you know, they can all get through this easily and they can continue. You know, she went to every single Super Bowl, all 57.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up.
No one has ever done it. And that's, if there's one thing you can smile about right now, is the fact that she loved the game of football. The fact that she went to every single Super Bowl, and the very last one that she attended was a win from her team. That says it all right there, in my opinion.
I agree with you. I mean, that's unique. Not only the only woman, she's the only person I've heard of attending every single person.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this will be forever from this point forward. Super Bowl 58, when the Chiefs win that one will be for Norma, and that will be the first year of the era beyond her. The entire history of the NFL, of the Super Bowl era, can be registered to her participation. I think that's incredible.
Absolutely.
Oh, man. Tough way to start a show, but glad you guys are with us. We are going to pay respect to her as we go through some of the topics that we want to discuss and that you want to discuss today. And we're going to get to a little special excerpt from Dan here in a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's go through the top segment and just get through who are the guys that they're relying on when you make all these critical maneuvers, and not just the draft, but the whole thing, in looking at refreshing the roster in the 53 to go towards the next Super Bowl, which more and more I feel like this is I'm calling it regeneration from a couple of weeks ago, right? That kind of came off the top. But it's not a reload, it's not a retool, it's just regenerating your next available tool bag of options. Who is it that stands out to you as the keys to that? Who are they relying on?
So right now, people probably going to point to guys like a guy like Chris Jones, but I am going to go a different direction because I think that this makes a lot of sense. And as my daughter comes in to give me a hug and a kiss goodnight, we will pause while we do that because, how are you? You good? Can I have a hug and a kiss? Oh, I love you. You be good for mom.
Sunday night.
Kisses.
So all throughout that was on the thumbnail, because he was my top guy. When you move around and you make elections to bring in specific players, Charles Omenihu is a guy that they're going to rely on because he's got to help Chris Jones out. This isn't enough just to get the draft pick. This is an immediate plug and play, a guy that can be outside on some downs, can be inside on others, can be a tandem. If you don't decide or work to get Frank Clark back, Charles Omenihu has to become the next Chris Jones and kind of thing.
Absolutely, yeah.
So for he's the guy that – go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. I was going to say. So I'm going to say Joe Thuney because right now left tackle is kind of in flux, okay? We have seen how important his kind of process in the whole development and play of their left tackle, whoever it is because he's going to be playing next to one of the best guards in football. And he's going to have to help whoever it is, whether it's Juwan Taylor or it's Donovan Smith. Whoever it ends up being at that left tackle spot, they need to be able to, they know it's him. So he's kind of this whole anchor of the entire offensive line right now, in my opinion, because that extension from him to the interior is only as good as your tackles are, in my opinion, because, your interiors are great, but if you can help out your left tackle or your right tackle, depending on what guard spot you play, you make the whole offensive line a collective unit. So right now it's Joe Thuney, and his last year in Kansas City might be his most important season.
Yeah, I can certainly agree with that because he's going to tie it together. And it's the changing of the guard. What we've seen there, as you said, is he's the elder statesman right now. He's playing on the interior, helping Creed along, helping Trey along. Trey's now going to be Juwan Taylor's best friend. They're going to work together. Joe can handle whatever left tackle's put next to him. But I think Donovan Smith is really going to enjoy the fact, and I would not be surprised that it wasn't a factor of whatever the concerns were about Donovan Smith. It was Joe's going to be there to help him. That certainly goes a long way. So I like the way that you put that. And that unit in particular is one that's going to be on the spotlight all season long, no matter what happens. I was going to say Taylor's one of the guys that has to pay off. If they fail with the Omenihu and that doesn't work out, or if they fail with Taylor and that doesn't work out, they're right back where they started, looking for pressures and looking to avoid pressures. So they have to count on those guys. I'm confident in both of them. That isn't really bothering me. Thuney, again, being the force multiplier of the front five, that does help. But this is a little bit different than piecing it together with Donovan Smith, who I think is a short-term answer. I do think the long-term answer is coming, so I do hope that there's an extension for Thuney as well. I know you guys want to talk extension. There was a report, I guess, on ESPN. I haven't seen it myself yet, but we'll discuss that here in a moment while I start to look for it. But who else? If you had to say that this is more of a pillar of this next 53-man roster than we thought, who is it?
It's Trent McDuffie. Trent McDuffie might be one of the most important defensive pieces outside of Chris Jones in the future going forward. I mean, you can argue, considering I'm doing a piece right now. You guys you're gonna love this piece. I'm telling you, it's so good. What I've got, the information, the statistics, and everything I'm putting together for my Wednesday piece is fantastic. But all of the pressures and everything they did last year, honestly, you could attribute a lot of it to being more comfortable on the back end. They were comfortable with their corners halfway through the season. After the bye week, they got so much more comfortable with their players, and the players got comfortable. I believe Trent McDuffie is going to end up being a top 7 cornerback in the NFL. I think he's that talented. I don't know when that's going to happen, mind you, but I think that he's going to allow the pass rushers to get home. And obviously, when you have a one corner, if they sign L'Jarius Sneed, who's going to be your 1 and 2, and your 1 in your slot, then that does help. And if you get your other young corner who you, again, didn't think was going to be there. You traded up for in the first round 2 years ago to go get him in front of George Karlaftis, who they were just kind of waiting to take later. So I'm comfortable with what they're doing at corner, and I think that Trent McDuffie stepping into more of a role like that will allow the pass rush to continue to pay off, and he will start to lead this secondary. I think he could do that.
I think he's certainly capable there. I agree with you completely. I like the fact that the guys that we're talking about are a combination here. It's layered. Yeah. It's young rookie, young veteran. It's older veteran who's been on a couple teams, couple of defenses, and then it's second-year player. So you have these waves of experience and leadership throughout the roster, just like Tooney. When Joe Tooney does retire or move on, I think there's still an extension of another couple of years in the future for him in Kansas City. But after that, we'll talk age and everything else that we always talk. After that, it becomes Creed Humphrey is the next leader. And then it becomes who's the tackle of the left tackle of the future will then have to become a leader. Like you're layering it throughout. And again, this all goes back to the length and the breadth of the Mahomes contract. You're building it for you and for the longevity of the whole organization. So I like that. John, I think you said it best. For those of you who joined late, we did discuss Norma Hunt, and the Chiefs announced her passing today, a little bit ago, and we did go over it at the top of the show. We are going to try to power through and have some positivity here tonight, but definitely a blow for the organization and honestly for the city, as well as the city of Dallas, Texas. A lot of good impact has come, not just from Clark and Lamar, but Norma's been in the entire time. So we're just revisiting that real quick. We will shift gears. If you guys have a question, you have a topic you want us to cover, hit us with the question marks before the question itself in the chat. And every super chat tonight gets an answer or at least gets addressed if you're making a statement and not a question. Feel free to throw those, and you can always get the gear at the RGR store. Before we move on to the Chris Jones topic, because I know it's hot. I know it's hot. Smokers are hot too, and Dan has been experimenting, and I think you need to show off a little bit and walk us through the process.
All right. Well, I, for the very first time today, decided to smoke a tri-tip. As you guys can see here, the very first one, I reversed seared it to. So I got it in my smoker. I did a Dijon mustard wrap around it and then seasoned it, put it on the smoker. I actually smoked these guys. I had two of them. They were about 1.5 pounds each. And they're small, so I wanted to experiment. So I put them in an hour. Then went in an hour. And then from there, I already had the cast iron skillet hot. They go right from the smoker into the skillet for the reverse sear, rest for a little bit, and then we sliced. Obviously, I'm impressed with myself. I'll be honest. Like, this color is exactly what I was looking for. I made the chimichurri sauce. I pickled the onions myself. My wife made a sandwich out of them. I had it just without the bread, and then some nice smashed potatoes with some melted butter, garlic, Parmesan. Doesn't get much better than that. And honestly, one of the best things I've made.
Yeah, I'm a little jealous. So is Tracy. She'd like to know if you ship.
Unfortunately, here in Missouri, that's going to be quite expensive. So
I can only
I appreciate
imagine.
It though, Tracy.
That's got to take a bit. But congrats, Dan. We lost Dan for a second. He'll be back, I'm sure. But Jackson, here. I'm with you. I've been at the lake all weekend and just got back. Haven't had dinner yet. Been in the truck all day, so Dan made me hungry too.
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to.
It's good. It's well done.
I'm just joking. I am trying to. Look at that. It looks delicious.
All right, we're starting to get some questions. That's great. We will circle back to them. Want to get into the topic that Terry had mentioned, and I had not seen SportsCenter. Again, I've been out of coverage and TV zone lately. Did you see on SportsCenter that Chris Jones getting a multi-year extension coming? So I did check this out. The report came from Jeremy Fowler, one of the NFL guys on ESPN, and the quote is here. Here, I can show this. Look, they're looking to gain some short-term salary relief by locking up Chris Jones in a multi-year extension. So this is exactly what we've been talking about. If and when they need to get something done. And here's it's a two-part answer for you, Terry. We've talked about this is the way to do it. It's already on the table. Chris wants to stay. You want him back. You just got to work it out. Well, this adds a little bit of flame to the fire, especially just coming off camping weekend, to try and get that done now. not wait until training camp starts, because that's when he signed his last extension. That's when a lot of the veteran players want to come in and just hit it as they roll into camp. I think this says the second part for me, Dan, is that says they have something in mind they're trying to do, that they need relief. That this isn't just get $4 or $5 million so we have a cushion. A multi-year extension like this is going to give you cap relief to do something. So I like both options there.
I like that they're thinking about it. You know, it tells you that they are very much in on repeating. They want to repeat with a young team, honestly. How young this defense is, we're talking about legitimately one of the best chances to repeat that we've seen in quite a long time. Obviously, the Chiefs' injury going into their repeat opportunity really negated all of their opportunity to win that game. So they're thinking about long-term here. Yes, they think that they can probably win a Super Bowl with the team they have. Why settle? Why settle? If you can go, you can do it. You want Chris Jones here for the long haul anyway. Just make it happen and then go get somebody, man. Do what you got to do.
I'm intrigued, because then, of course, I need to know who and all the what's and all the things.
Oh,
so it becomes about timing. It becomes about, okay, where's the number that you're meeting in the middle? How are you structuring it? Because Chris wants, at his age, he wants guaranteed money. Yeah. That eats into cap. That doesn't give you the most cap advantage. So how do they get creative? How can they structure this? I wonder if it's not similar to Patrick's deal, where it's roster bonuses that are then shiftable, that allow you to do what you need and be flexible any given year. I don't know if that's what Chris is looking for, but the guarantees still work in that way. So I think that may be what we see. I'm very interested to see, and I'm glad to hear it's starting to leak out that there's news. I know they've been talking more than they did the summer before their last extension. So it has felt for quite a while that it's going to get done. We should know more details as it comes out. I want to give a shout out real quick to Gary Holland, one of our mods, one of our original OGs around here from when I started the channel, with like a TV in the background to show you guys what I was talking about, which never worked out very well. But hey, we adapt and we overcome. Gary has as well. So cheers to you, Gary. Appreciate you being here. Let's see who's next. It's Patrick, I believe. Of course, rumors are flying around this time of year, but saw one today about Chiefs trade for Bakhtiari for a second. Thoughts on that? Oh, I'll let you start this one.
Yeah. Had he not gotten hurt and then hurt again and possibly never recovered, but played anyway, and then I don't know what really happened with that situation. Yeah. Okay. Sure. No thanks anymore. He's like in his 30s. And the Chiefs need a legitimate left tackle solution. Yeah. Bakhtiari is not a solution. He's another placeholder, which the Chiefs said earlier in this offseason that they wanted to figure their left tackle situation out for the future in this offseason. That did not happen unless there's a little bit of smoke around maybe Donovan Smith is just a backup. His contract does not suggest he's the starter, okay? It really doesn't. So maybe Juwan Taylor comes out of OTAs and training camp as the guy. Maybe he does. Excuse me. We'll find out. But regardless, I'm really all the way out on this scenario. Yeah,
Bakhtiari is as an elderly gentleman for this league. Let's put it that way. He's a tractor trailer with a blown tire. Like, you could see the end is coming, right? I would not. And here's the only thought. It's the same scenario that I've been talking about most of the summer with most of the big names that have come up, including DeAndre Hopkins, who we have talked a lot about because I do think he could be the other target that we're talking about with the Chris Jones cap relief. But Bakhtiari is a guy that you look at, like you said, Dan, if Donovan Smith doesn't work, or if the contract is more indicative of what they think he is going to be, that you look at if he becomes a free agent. You don't trade a second-round pick for that age. There's only one position in football that you trade that kind of draft capital for, and it's quarterback. So I don't think that that's a viable option. And quite frankly, I'm even a little bit more concerned, particularly that's coming from the Packers. Because the Packers don't give up on their players. You know, if they're willing to move on, that tells you that the end is nigh here.
I'm with you.
Okay. Jackson, hope you're doing well. Dan, will you do a Jalen Watson and Josh Williams film room?
We'll see what I get to before training camp starts. That's when we'll have more actual content to go over. But right now, I wanted to do a break on the coverage unit because I just did Trent McDuffie, so I'm doing a rejuvenation of their pass rush. That's what I'm doing right now. Things that went their way this season that didn't necessarily go their way last year. So I wanted to do a break in that and just to get you guys some information on how their pass rush was so dominant last year. And there's going to be lots of statistics, lots of fun stuff. Obviously, Chris Jones will be involved heavily, but we'll see. Maybe I can do it after I go to an offensive break because I don't want to just continue to go defense. So we'll see. I should be able to get to those guys. And if I don't get a full review, I'll try and get something small done for those guys for sure.
I can definitely do that too. I am back on Wanye, looking at him from the college film. So I started that and then we stopped for a bit, you guys. I'm going to go back to it and try to finish that up soon. And then I have a couple of ideas about some film that I'm going to do as well. So one way or the other, we'll get those guys covered because they're going to play big roles. They're going to be the second tier. And quite frankly, I'm really interested to see what happens with how teams choose to attack them this season versus last. I think 4 wideout sets are going to be a lot more common because they just want to flood everything and see what they can attack the Chiefs offensive line with. 2 new tackles is gonna make you feel like you can get a little funky.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at. KL, thank you for the support, buddy. Appreciate you. I know it's still in shorts, but who are you guys standouts for OTAs, and what are you still looking for? It is still in shorts. You're right. It's not full-blown activities, but I really hope that we don't get caught in the loop again. I hope that Justin Ross is going to be somebody who can step into the role that has the offense down enough, having been in Kansas City for a year, that can really fulfill his potential. I would love to see that. From what I'm hearing about who's a standout so far, it is Jawan Taylor. Having functional depth there. A lot of intrigue around what Lucas Niang is doing, and it's second team right now. It's mostly full go. It's not like 1,000% on, is what I'm saying. So, I won't call that a standout, but it's progress. And honestly, I think it's a positive sign. What I'm really, really interested in is a couple of the strange things they've been doing. Dropping Karlaftis more. I don't think that's going to end up being the thing where you really build that into the game plan, but it does kind of keep his trunk loose, maybe helps him get a little bit bend. That's what Bobby Stoops been working on with him. Got to make sure I say the names right. You got to find other ways to keep that loose and limber, and so I hope that Spags is doing that with the idea of it's not necessarily what he'll do in ball games, but it will keep him in that kind of flow. I think that that's the next tier for George Karlaftis, is to really open up his trunk ability to bend a little bit more. If he does that, he's going to be in business.
I want to see Karlaftis get the hump move, honestly.
Yeah.
He's a power guy. He has a good enough get off. His hands are just slow. They might always be slow. They just might always be slow. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, go back and watch some old John Randall, watch a little bit of Myles Garrett. You guys can see some of the hump move. It's basically just like throwing yourself into a tackle and extending, and it's like you just like jump into them and just extend your arms. It's like a verified bull rush almost. And he has the strength to be able to do some of that. So I want to see him get a little bit more there. But for me, it's Sky Moore. And both of us talk about wide receivers at the top. And Sky Moore, they talked specifically about how he was exposed to every wide receiver position last year. And that's not something they normally do. That tells you they feel pretty comfortable about the kind of player they got. And obviously, if you guys went back to the film review that I did on Sky Moore, there are tools, and you actually saw him line up everywhere in that film review. I did that on purpose. That was not to fool you guys. It wasn't to do. It was because hey, he lined up on the outside. Hey, he's in the slot here. Hey, he's reduced split here. He did everything. That was intentional, and clearly the Chiefs believe he's ready to take that step this year. So I'm excited.
I kind of am too. I want to see if it continues to expand everywhere, if it's a narrower addition, but I'm ready for it. Porta Potty, appreciate you. What do you think about the RB situation with Pacheco, McKinnon, Clyde, and potentially generic Prince, the Tulsa RB. I think it's a solid group. Do I think it's fully formed? I'm not 100%. I like what Prince brings. I think it's a 1-2 punch that's very, very similar with what Pacheco does. Do they, in the end, feel that that's enough? Jerry and Ely is working out in different places, not as much with the wide receivers as he was last year. I think Jerry Ely is a McKinnon clone as well. So you have two guys of two sorts there.
Yeah. I was a very big fan of Ely coming out. Like, I had a draftable grade on him, and he obviously went as UDFA. He was fun, shifty, tougher than he looked for a guy who's small. Again, like you said, got the McKinnon bill. He has that speed too. And again, he's, like you said, he's playing more at the running back position this offseason. And that has me excited. It's juice. It's twitch. It's like a Dexter McCluster feel in and off of this offense. I feel like that's a good thing to have, at least on the roster. So the running back position is fine. It's not great. It's not good. Like, I can argue that it's average. It's fine. I wouldn't necessarily say it's good. It's in good position. But it has the potential to be good. Again, if Pacheco takes a step this year, if McKinnon stays healthy, if Clyde stays healthy, I think that's a good running back room. But I have to just peg both, at least Clyde missing games, because he hasn't been able to not miss games his career. So I have to peg him missing games. Some rest for McKinnon. I don't know when it's going to happen. And, Pacheco played through 2 injuries last year. That's stuff where it does wear on you a little bit. So I'm not super comfortable with 3 players that have already grown into injury issues at their time. I know, like I said, Pacheco played through it. So it's not the best position to be in when you have 3 guys on your roster that have shown a little bit more tendency to get hurt.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. It is a little bit thin, and that's why I think having backups of backups that are similar in what they bring works. But I will not be surprised if they get to training camp and maybe they feel like cut down day, they need to make another acquisition, probably just on the practice squad just to see. I'm hearing craziness that Kenny McIntosh isn't going to make his roster. Sold. I don't know why that is, but hey.
I mean, I don't know. That's a little weird.
Right? It seems like it's total.
I get Charbonnet, obviously. I get Walker, obviously. Anybody else on that roster better than Kenny McIntosh? I don't think so.
I'm crazy, but I haven't. I'm getting people texting me these things. I'm not seeing them firsthand. I'm not sure what people are actually talking about, so I'm trying to get there. We'll see. I think there's going to be running backs that'll be available they might want to bring in. So we'll just keep an eye out when it comes down to cut downs at the roster. Maestro, appreciate you. Thanks for the support. What's the evolution? And Rip Norma, absolutely.
Yeah.
What's the evolution we should expect from our coaching staff? Offensive, defensive coordinators, Andy too. Also, you two are amazing. Thanks, Maestro. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
We're just trying to keep up with everybody on the staff. But I think the really interesting one is, how does Dave Tobe adapt? I have to say that for the first time in his career, he had more of a challenge than he was able to pull off last season.
Yeah.
And everybody gels, everybody connects with players a little bit differently. I think when you talk about like the hard-nosed guys that are going to be on this roster a little bit more, they're younger, they're faster, and it's not the classic. So I think it's really going to be about Dave and like how he adapts to the younger generation again, and we'll see how that goes. I expect it to be able to turn around, and that as a core, special teams units this season perform better than they did last season.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my thought. Where are you at?
I'm interested to see what Matt Nagy's going to get away with this year. He talked about how it's going to look a little bit different. He obviously still understands the terminology and everything, but Matt Nagy is going to bring his own flair to the offense, and I'm excited to see what that's going to be. It's going to be a whole nother curveball, because last year Patrick Mahomes became the best, not just the best quarterback in the NFL, the most multiple. He can hit the long ball. He can dice you apart. He can identify what defense you're playing in and find the weak spot and hit it. Or he can take off and run when he knows that you're playing man coverage behind a little bit of a blitz. He can see all of that now. What is Matt Nagy going to do to have these little counters? Just these little tiny, just the little tiny, sprinkle the cinnamon sugar on top of your dessert or the salt to finish off your meal. Like, what is it that he's going to put on? I'm very excited to see what that's going to be.
It's going to be jalapeno salt. That's what I'm thinking.
I'm all in. Just spice it up.
So on a total side note, Dan will appreciate that. You foodies will appreciate. The wife just put together her new garden beds, and she's got serranos and habaneros out there. So you'll be seeing some pepper preparation probably.
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to that. As far as the offensive defensive coordinators, I think we're seeing it bit by bit with Steve Spagnuolo in loosening the reins a little bit and not being as predictable, not being as boring. We all know late in the season he's going to start blitzing more. We all know he's going to send the nickel. I think he's gotten a little bit more creative, and that also comes from having Joe Cullen on staff where the defensive front is getting better pressure. So it doesn't have to be as much. Now I think it's going to be a little bit more willy-nilly, and I like that. Like, hey, guess what? We're going to send Cook from deep this time, and everybody's going to rotate around against the Bengals. Something crazy like that. Like, and I'm personally here for it. If the front can get pressure by themselves, it allows you to do some weird things, and that creates angles that create options for turnovers, and that's what I'm looking for.
I'm here for it. Here for it.
As of Andy's gonna be Andy. I don't know. Well, I do we see the underhand toss 17 times this year? I don't think so.
I hope not. We're not gonna see a fullback dive anymore.
Yeah.
That's gone.
Yeah. We could see an off tackle option though. With Noah out there in front. And I like the fact that they're leaving that on the table because the mechanics of plays like that do still have a space in this league.
Yeah.
So, Maestro, thank you. You're amazing. Thanks for the support. We appreciate
it.
Nikki, what lake were you at? I used to spend time at Grand Lake. Yeah, Grand Lake's great. It's still very, very cold in May. So, and when I left for the weekend, it was pretty much May. So didn't go there. We were up in Wyoming at Glendale Reservoir up there. Great spot if you guys like to get away from people, which I generally do. I prefer the animals more. So I get out, and it's a nice campground. The kids can be in the water if they want. Again, fairly cold, but we had a good time. Only problem this trip is there was a ton of rain.
Oh, that's a bummer. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's been crazy, but hey, we made it back. It allowed me to get back a little bit earlier, so Dan didn't have to ride solo tonight.
And I appreciate it.
Yeah, hey, I'm happy to do it. Thanks, Nikki. Kale, you got another one. Dan, what's some of your favorite recipes that you used that has alcohol, whether bourbon, beer, etc.?
So I don't do a ton with cooking that has alcohol. I like to bake with alcohol. Like I just made a brown sugar bourbon. That is one word. It's a brown sugar bourbon apple crumble yesterday. It's fantastic. It's super easy to make. I was make my own crumble. That's really, really easy too. I also love using peanut butter whiskey in frosting. I made these German chocolate stuffed devil's food cupcakes with a peanut butter frosting made with the whiskey. Like that was really good. I love to use it in bakes. I also do it in apple pies and peanut butter pies. Just about anything I try any kind of desserts and stuff. So that's what I do.
Damn. All right, fine. Yeah, we're going to put together a whole new concept show because I need a pastry chef because I can't bake for nothing. My wife does all the baking, but she does, what is it? It's the Smithwick's Red Ale from England or from Ireland that she does beer bread with. That's awesome. Okay. Let's see. I don't use like single malts or anything super nice, but I'll use a number of whiskeys, depending on what their flavor profile is, to deglaze like game meat in particular.
Okay.
All the elks, all the wild bison that I get, all that gets sauce with that kind of base. I do a lot of pan sauces with those. So it just makes that easy. Let's see. Champagne in the pancake batter for Mother's Day. That's a must do.
I'm going to put that one on the list.
Yeah. That'll make people happy in your life. So tuck that one away. Makes them really flight. It's almost like a, what do you call it? A tempura type batter at that point because it's got a little fluff to it. It's kind of, it's good. Gary, right? Hey, give it a shot. I feel like the Chiefs receivers will be good without D-Hop. What do you think? I agree. I think they'll be just fine without D-Hop. I think they just proved that with mechanics and placement, they can win with the receivers they have. And I know everyone's going to say, but what about Juju? He was the leading receiver. Yes, he was. They feel like they have guys that can take up that slack, and they've added like the physicality. I think Rashee Rice will help. I think the physicality of Justin Watson will be relied on more. So you get that piece back. But if they do go with D-Hop, I think that makes them nearly unstoppable because there's no kind of passing situation you can't get away with.
Exactly. That's the thing. Like, it's a collective unit at that point. Like, you have a proven collective unit with the 50-50 stuff and the ability to do that. So yeah, it's that fifth infinity stone kind of thing. You can do a lot with 4, but you can do everything with the 5th one.
You need the green one most, right?
Well, yeah. Obviously. Time stone.
I'm not as good on the Avengers as I should be. My brother loves that stuff, and I'm a casual fan of that.
I love them. The fan. I loved everything up until Endgame, and now it's getting dicey.
What is this, phase 6 or whatever it is of the Marvel universe? Gary, either way, I think the Chiefs are going to be able to move the ball up and down the field with ease, but I just like the concept of rather than what we have to do every time the Chiefs play the Bengals, and we're like, okay, you got that trio you got to take care of. Everybody's got to be in their game. Put D-Hop on this one, and all of a sudden every defense has to do that, including those Bengals, and I think that's worth it.
Sounds like a plan.
Pickle Rick. Speaking of pickled onions, I don't know how you pickle a person, but that'd be bad.
Or vinegar, that'll do it.
Yeah, okay. Well, if Chris Jones is extended, what would you rather see the Chiefs bring in, Hopkins or bring back Frank Clark?
This is an easy one for me. I love Frank Clark and everything he's done. Give me DeAndre Hopkins.
I have an even easier time. Both. How's that? If you have that much space,
got the money.
Yeah, I mean, both of them should have, contracts that include incentives, even D-Hop. And I know that he's asking around 15, whatever. That was the rumor. We'll see if that's true. Even if they do get a bunch of cap relief, they still can't give him 15 or 20 a year. It's still got to be X base, X incentive. So, hey, I think it's a possibility to get both. Put the band back together and just add the new sax guy out there and let D-Hop do his thing. Patrick, I'm going off the rail a little bit. Uh-oh, here we go.
Here we go.
With this question, I apologize in advance, but would it make sense to trade for a young wide receiver 1 who needs to be paid like Pittman, CeeDee Lamb, or T. Higgins? CD would be crazy. He definitely would. But currently CD is under the control of one Jeremiah Jones, I believe. The cost of that would be just silly because he ain't giving up, I don't think. He may dig himself into a hole like he did with Zeke. I don't know.
That's possible. That's always a possibility with Jerry Jones. He doesn't know when to quit. It's why they're so kind of mediocre. They're a really good team. They're just not great because he doesn't know when to quit.
Agreed. Yeah, you dig yourself your own hole and put yourself in your own disadvantage. Oh, man. Oh, that's a great question, Nikki. I'm going to come back to you in a minute. I personally wouldn't trade for Pittman. I like Pittman's game. I don't think he understands enough about the evolution of the pro game yet to make me think he can plug and play into the Chiefs defense. And if I'm trading for a young guy, he's got to be that. There can't be a lag year if I'm trading for him.
Yeah, I agree. And I just don't think that Pittman is that level of receiver. I also think Higgins is made by Joe Burrow, who they fit perfectly together. Higgins is a very specific receiver. He doesn't get open naturally a ton, and he does not have yak ability. He doesn't. He does not have any of that. But he fits really well with Joe Burrow because he throws the ball down the field outside the numbers a lot. The Chiefs don't do a ton of that. Not that they couldn't. That's just not where Andy Reid thrives. Andy Reid thrives destroying the middle of the field, just doing a ton of stuff, scheming guys open. So while he's going to be a free agent, he's not getting signed by the Bengals. I can promise you that much. They will handicap themselves. So you don't really have to trade for T. Higgins. You can kind of wait and see if you want to compete on the open market. Which, good luck.
Yeah, I agree, but I actually think it'll be, unless he does something to separate everything that you just said about him and Burrow. I don't think his market's going to be quite what we think it's going to be, because nobody can project to have Burrow.
No, but teams will talk themselves into it. They will.
True. Rick, sorry to ruin your Sonic experience. I don't know how I could make it worse, but
I was about to say, I'm not sorry about ruining it for you. Sonic has just done this for a long time.
I thought that was hilarious, though, Rick. Thanks for that one. Let's see. Any surprising cuts that you see coming? Surprising cuts. Guys that we expect should make it, but don't. That's kind of what a surprise cut is, right?
Yeah.
Surprise. I'm just going to say this, and it's nothing against him personally. I was surprised Mike Edwards got brought in.
Okay.
If he doesn't perform, I could see them moving on. I'm not necessarily a cut. You might be able to get something for him. But I saw that move as a little bit more risk, so it's got to show up like immediately. So if Dave Merritt has any questions about where he is now, and particularly where he is when he gets to training camp, that could be someone to keep an eye on.
Could, especially if Chamari Connor comes in and he's like great and he's like really good. You already know Deion Bush knows the defense and he's a core special teams guy. So you could feasibly say, we're good. We don't really need you. And maybe try to trade him, but like cut. Surprise cuts. I mean, okay. Richie James could be a surprise cut. Could. Like, that's why it would be a surprise. Imagine Justin Ross comes in. He's good. He's returning punts in training camp. He's returning kicks in training camp. He's doing a good job. He looks healthy. He looks fit. John Ross doing the same kind of thing, but we know Justin Watson can handle punt returns and catch the football. His contract does not make him on this roster. Doesn't. So there is a way to talk yourself into Richie James not being on this roster come the start of camp. I think he's going to be, or start of season, but I mean, that's a surprise. That's why they call it a surprise, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's exactly what I said. I was thinking Smith Marset might be on the outside looking in if somebody steps up, particularly if it's D-Hop, but that wouldn't be a surprise. You're absolutely right. Good question, Terry. Hopefully we'll see more. Mandatory minicamp, we should see more of it in terms of like video. Yeah. So hopefully we have a better idea here coming up. Porta Potty, same question, but are the wide receivers our top four seem to be Tony, MVS, Sky, and Rice. Probably. Who else are you relying on? James could be that.
Yeah.
I think Watson is going to be out there as well.
Yeah, those are the two that we've got slotted in right now, and we're not going to know anything else about the other guys until training camp. Like, we're just not going to know. It's not possible for us to really say, well, he's going to do this. I know that we've seen Justin Ross catch a ball downfield. He was running full speed, which is nice to see. But pads, they matter.
The NFL is a grind, not just from games, but just if you're a practice player, you're talking you're at the facility 6 days a week, all season long. Getting through OTAs isn't easy because you're coming off of a time where you can work out a couple hours a day and have plenty of rest and recovery. You're in meetings and everything all day long, and that grind takes over. So it definitely, we have to see him make the 53, then we have to see what happens once that grind starts. Preseason game number 2 is usually where I start to feel confident.
All right, guys.
And thank you again, Porta Potty.
Here just a little bit. It's your guys' Sunday night. It's my Sunday night too. So we're gonna try to get the y'all out of here on a reasonable hour.
Absolutely. We got a few more, and then we'll wrap it up. Sounds like I have dinner awaiting me, so I didn't have to cook. That's even better since I drove all damn day. KL, thank you again, buddy. Appreciate your support, folks. Any super chats, we appreciate you very much, as well as everybody who's been buying the gear. I have a couple new designs we'll put out here when we get closer to camp as well. I will officially be asking Dan a cooking question every time until we get an RGR cooking edition.
Sounds good to me.
Well, we have RGR craft that started out as beer and then went to wine and whiskey, and now it could just be anything craft. We might have to throw some food content up there too.
We might have to. I just need to get a better way of, creating content in the really, really small kitchen that I have that's not user friendly. So
I know how that feels. But KO, you keep asking, okay? That'll keep us engaged, I guarantee. Will we ever see a behind the back pass, Nikki? I wanted to come back to this one. I don't think we'll see it in a regular season ball game, but I think we'll see it in a preseason game.
Week 2 of the preseason, I think, is when it's going to break out.
Okay. I can live with that. And good Lord, if he completes it, then that changes everything. And then we might have to see it. I don't know, man.
Imagine it's an RPO. Imagine it's an RPO, but it goes from here to the back pass. I'm just saying.
Yeah, good Lord. Nikki, you keep an eye on that because I know you're interested. Because we just might have to go down that road. I don't know. Make sure the Chiefs are chasing greatness. 5 Super Bowls, 5 AFC championships, 3 Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowl wins. Which of those 5 teams rank in your top 5 Chiefs of all time? Am I missing something? Maestro, you might have to clarify this one for me.
Have they been to 5 Super Bowls total? Yeah.
Too early in the last 3. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
3 in this recent run.
Okay.
So you're separating the early teams.
Which of the 5 teams? Okay, that have been to a Super Bowl.
I feel like the 2019 team was the best they ever had, including the early teams.
I'll say okay. The 2022 team, because of what it can do dissectively against defenses, is better in my opinion.
Okay.
If you took away Tyreek Hill like the 49ers did, and don't hit on a Sammy Watkins in routes, sell job, I mean, they probably lose that game. So I think that they can attack much better with what they've done the last 2 seasons, or this season than last year.
I'm with you. Let's see. The Sir AO. I hope that's anywhere close. I don't know how you're doing that, but that's how I'm saying it. Where does our D finish this year? Top 10? Question mark. I'm going to say no. They were 18th against the pass last year. They were 23rd overall, was it?
I don't believe so. I think they were 17th overall in DVOA.
Okay. So, I mean, that's pushing for where I've been pushing. I'm going to say 12 is probably the top end, unless something really falls in line.
Yeah. I think 12 is where you can get to, and that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
It would be the best defense they've ever had under Patrick Mahomes.
Right? Let's see. Looks like for 2022 team, offense was, 17th.
Okay, yeah. I've been doing my research on this. So
Yeah. Okay, I'm with you. Jackson, would you guys think the KC would keep 8 wide receivers on the roster because D-Hop joins the team, and then they don't think Joss will make it with 7, make it to the practice squad? I assume you're saying. I don't think they can justify 8 wide receivers.
No, not even a little bit.
That would be crazy. So no, they might have to get creative with who they put where in order to get somebody to the practice squad. But I don't think it could happen. Cole, I saw the Chris Jones report extended. If anything, what are you hearing about L'Jarius Sneed being extended? I'm hearing that talks began before OTAs, through the draft time, et cetera, cool. But that things have cooled at that point, from what I understand now.
I think this is L'Jarius Sneed betting on himself. He's like, you guys got a good number. I'm better. And that's the thing right now that it makes me worried.
Yeah. And I'll tell you this. Good for him. I'm perfectly good with that, because the Chiefs can't get to the point where what they've proven over the last few years is they can make selections that get on the field and produce at the corner position. They've drafted really well over the last few years, including L'Jarius in the 4th round, to fulfill that position. If L'Jarius is going to be a $25 million a year corner, what does that do to your pass rush? So I think this is going to be, okay, go be all pro and we'll talk, that kind of thing. But what's great for the Chiefs right now, that means he's got to get more turnovers. And I think that's going to really, really produce this year. So I want L'Jarius to stay. There, just because of what I've heard doesn't mean it's real. Yeah. My contacts, I don't know his agent. My contacts, that's what I hear through the grapevine. Doesn't mean that it's real. They could end up doing a Chris Jones type thing where he comes in and maybe they do meet at a number and it is right at training camp. So if we get to training camp, say the first preseason game and there's no extension, then it's over and they're going to ride through the season most likely. Jared, thank you for this one. Look good in the hat. And we try to be live when we can. So cheers. Last question, and we will wrap it up. Would you trade Willie Gay? It would take a second round pick or equivalent for me to trade Willie Gay right now.
Absolutely. I think he's still good enough in this defense that you would need real good compensation. I think the second is more than fair. But no. And also, Jesus, no. No. What are you doing?
Dude, I don't put ketchup on anything, so
Please tell me this is not what you do with your pancakes.
I think he's worried about Patrick. Ah, man. I tell you what, if you want to have something a little bit unique, put honey on pancakes. See what you think.
That's perfectly fine. Put some hot honey on pancakes.
Yeah. Honestly, you want to have a good time, get Nashville hot honey on pancakes. That's what I'm talking about. All right, we're going to wrap it a little bit early because it is Sunday night, folks, and we got a couple of things that we got to get done, including dinner. So cheers. We're going to be back regular Q&A on Monday night like we always do. So please bring your great questions. We appreciate it because that's your show.
Absolutely.
So enjoy the rest of tonight. Enjoy tomorrow. We'll see you back here tonight. Dan, go eat some of that gorgeous food you made. Dang.
Oh, I ate some already. I'm
all right.
I'm gonna have some of my apple crumble, actually. So
I guess, okay, I want a picture of that tonight, too, on social.
I'll send it your way.
All right, folks, it's In Harm's Way 19. Go follow if you don't, and then you can see this stuff. Have a great one. We'll talk to you all tomorrow.